Hey guys, how are ya? Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven. So I'm at IKEA in, I had to think of where I was, in Summerlin here in Las Vegas. I was craving some Swedish meatballs, so I had those. Nearby, I've got a table full of kids. I've got 3 tables full of people playing Mahjong. They're all living their life, so I figured I can film a video while I'm here. And that video is particularly aimed at one person, and that's Becky. She is retiring and potentially joining the airline industry, in particular my airline, which I wholeheartedly agree with that decision. And I'll maybe tell you why as I talk in this video. But she had some questions that I thought were great, and that some of you would actually appreciate the information, as well as a lot of you are joining my airline. And a lot of this information would kind of be useful with other airlines as well. So, her questions start with, how is the reserve system in particular? Have I said the word particular like 10 times already? I think I have. Is it straight until getting a line, for example? Yes. So in my airline, you're on reserve until you get a line. You're on reserve, and that could include ready reserve, where you have to go to the airport and sit there for a number of hours. You're given credit. You're paid for some of that time. But after a certain period of time, when you are in the top 20%, I think, of the reserves, you can be ready exempt, meaning you don't have to sit ready reserve at the airport, which is a blessing. And also, usually a good sign that you're bound to be a line holder sometime soon. So it's really a great time to be ready exempt. But yes, we are on reserve until we get a line. Now, she asks, how long will that be? In particular, again, I use the word particular, in Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, that's tricky. If you watched my video yesterday, I actually touched, I uploaded it yesterday. I actually touched on this topic. My chaser was from our Dallas base. He transferred to Las Vegas to keep a line, because for some reason, Dallas is contracting a little bit. They have fewer lines, and people who have been line holders for a long time are back on reserve, which is really frustrating. But so your options are to stay on reserve in Dallas for however long that would be. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. I don't know. I can't even give you a hint. It could change seasonally. But the options are staying on reserve in base in Dallas, for example, or transferring or being hired at a different base and commuting. Now, would I ever commute? No. Hard no, big pass. It's too stressful for me. It's too much work. It's like a second job, honestly, commuting back and forth to work. I would rather be on reserve where I live than commute to be a line holder. That's just my personal life. And our new contract is made being reserve a little bit easier, especially if you're in base. You can actually have a better chance of picking up trips on your days off to make extra money, which you'll need to do because, oh my God, the money is bad. Oh, there is no money. And any airline at the beginning. But we are paid a little bit less to start than other airlines. I'll talk about that later. Did I answer that question? Is Dallas a senior base? No, but as I just mentioned, it's contracting a little bit. Dallas and it seems Chicago seem to be contracting a bit and offering fewer lines, while other bases are growing. We're, for example, well over 1,000 people, maybe 1,100 people. When I was hired, we were probably in the 600s, so we've grown quite substantially. But Dallas is not very senior. More senior bases would be Detroit, Atlantic City for sure, but there's like 50 flight attendants there. Vegas is moderately senior. I wouldn't call it super senior, but it's moderately senior. And Fort Lauderdale is moderately senior as well. Seniority in bases, like it's hard to say a senior base with my airline, because that can change really every year or two, depending on business and business needs and where people transfer and stuff. So Orlando used to be incredibly junior. Now it's one of our largest bases with some pretty senior people working there. Let's see, days off. Now, that's changed recently with our contract as well. Historically, we've had 12 days off a month as reserve. Now with our new contract, if there are 31 days in the month, you'll get 13 days off. So you get a couple extra days off a year. But 12 days off a month, if you're used to working 5 days a week, 12 days off a month sounds wonderful, right? So on reserve, we get 2 blocks of 4 days off and 2 blocks of 2 days off. The 4 days, the blocks that are called guaranteed days off, are yours. They're guaranteed. The airline can't call you, or if they do, you can say no to work the trip. On your movable days, if they really, 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 really need you, they can use you on those days, but they give those days back to you later on in the month or at some time, so you're not going to lose your time off. So we get 12 days off a month as a line holder, as a reserve, 13 on months where you get 13 days off. Can you hear the mahjong tiles in the background rattling around? Yes. So, are there ways to preference AM or PM reserve, for example? Yes. So it's based on seniority. Everything is in reserve even then. We have 5, now count them 5, notification periods. So if you would like, say, crew scheduling to call you between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., that was my favorite reserve period. They can only call you between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. You're a night owl, you have potential where you can be notified between midnight and 10 a.m. in the morning. 10 hours, crew scheduling has the opportunity to call you and say, hey, you got a trip, you're going to wherever. So 10 hours a day, we have 5 of those notification periods. So you can choose which of those 5 to be notified. Now it's based on seniority. So if you're super, super junior, you might be stuck with midnight to 10 a.m. As you get more senior, you'll have more choices when it comes to notification periods. A little tangent on that, if you are, for example, on notification period, which used to be B, which is 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., say they can call you from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., they can call you within those hours to say, hey, you have a 9 p.m. trip. You won't be working particularly in those hours. You might, but you might be notified for a trip that starts after that notification period. Does that make any sense? If not, just listen to that again. So notification period, you do have a choice on which one you are a part of. So crew scheduling can only call you for 10 hours a day. There are airlines, and many of them, where they can call you 24 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week, however long, whatever, 6 days a week, because you can't work 7 days a week. But so with our airline, reserve life is easier that way. Pick up trips. Can you pick up trips? Yes. Now with our new contract, it's even easier. The first, I think, well, we bid for our schedules. You can bid for your reserve schedules, and I have a video on that. And then after bidding is done and you're awarded your line or your schedule, there's a period of days that follow, but then there is something called open time that is first come, first serve. The first 3 days of open time are seniority based, giving those people who have been here for 10, 15 years the right to bid for or pick up trips out of open time that are based on seniority, because seniority is something you earn. But after those 3 days, open time is first come, first serve. So if you're on reserve and you say have 4 days off, you want to pick up a trip, go for it. If you're faster than somebody else and clicking, that trip is yours. It's not a guaranteed thing because you never know who gets it before you do. But you have just as much opportunity to pick up a trip as I do, and I've been here 6.5 years. So it is much easier for reserves to actually make some money. Now with our system, if you have 4 guaranteed days off, the system really wants you to be available a day before and a day after for buffering, just in case you're on reserve or you're being used or whatever. So if you have a 4-day trip, you can easily pick up a 2-day trip in the middle. Or, and this is opening up a whole can of worms, and I don't even know how to do it, but you can move your movables behind your guaranteed days off, and that will give you 6 days off in a row, which then you can pick up a 4-day trip in the middle, and that would be great money. Reserves, you're paid for 72 hours of credit no matter what. A reserve gets 72 hours even if you're not used. There are very slow months in my airline. September, October historically, and I think they're planning August to be kind of slow too. You may not be used very often, but you'll still be paid those 72 hours credit. And if you pick up anything outside of your schedule, that's in addition to your 72. So if they only use you for like 2 or 3 trips, and you pick up a 4-day, that's all gravy. Thank you very much. Anything over 85 hours is time and a half. When it's picked up out of open time, trade board, it's straight time. But that's another story. Let's see. There are negotiations for pay raises, as are other airlines. A lot of other airlines are struggling for equal pay or better pay. We just finished signing and ratifying our new contract, which definitely gave us a big pay raise. My personal pay raise went up over the course of like 2 months. It went up like $9 an hour. So when I started here, a pay raise for a brand new flight attendant was $20.22 an hour, which doesn't sound too bad, but you're only being paid for 72 hours. Do the math. Not good. So right now, the new pay rate, I wrote it down here, as of January 1st of 2024, it is $21.85, which is not a lot of money, which is why you want to have a second stream of income, at least during your first year or two. If you're retired, all the better, right? This is a perfect retirement job. So for the first 6 months at my airline, you get $21.85 as of January 1st, 2024. After 6 months, when you just meet your first year, the pay rate goes up to $25.80. So it's a bit of a pay raise. And after you finish your first year, when you're entering into your second year, your pay rate goes to $30.18. So you go from $21.85 to $30.18 in 1 year. If you go to other airlines, you're going to see other legacy airlines starting off at $30, $32 an hour. Here with my airline, it's a smaller airline. We do much less work. And our quality of life, I really do think it's better. Sorry, guys. If you work for other airlines, you might disagree, but so it's a pretty significant pay raise. I had, with my old contract, at 4 years, I was making $27 and change. So yeah, the pay raise was significant. So it's definitely good. And the new contract will become amendable as of January 1st, 2025. So we'll see what happens then. I think those were the questions that Becky had asked me. Now, and I keep telling you how much I love my airline. And while reserve is hard, everyone goes through it in the industry. Reserve life is difficult. But the quality of life that my airline offers, I really do think is just easier to accept and easier to fit a life into it. You're not like worried 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. Your suitcase doesn't have to be packed in your car just in case the airline calls you while you're in the middle of a movie or a birthday party, you know. So with my airline, again, you have the airline has 10 hours during the course of a day where they can contact you for 6 days a week. And if you're not called, you're not paid. You don't get any credit for that trip, for a trip. If you are called, you get full credit for that trip. If you're called to sit ready reserve, that's, I think, 4 hours where you have to sit at the airport for 5 hours. Again, not bad. Some airlines have ready reserve like 6, 8, 10 hours. We get 4 hours credit for that. Again, you're getting credit for 72 hours a month, no matter what, even if you're not really used. And then, you know, some places like Dallas, who knows, they might not use you a lot. I don't know. I would like that, but I spent my first year on reserve in the pool, getting brown, which is why I have so much sun damage right here. But what else? I just like my job. Honestly, you know, there are elements of what each airline has to do in terms of, like, other airlines clean their planes. They have like 5 legs a day. They can be rerouted endlessly. I watched a couple of people on a particular airline, and they're always saying how they're being rerouted, or their trip is being canceled, and they're going over here and there. And yeah, our passengers might disagree, but in the industry, I really think that my airline is surprisingly stable for the reputation that it has. Just telling you, that's my personal point of view and my experience. And I love my passengers so much. And my airline does give me the freedom to have my own personality, be exactly who I am. I don't have to be the Neiman Marcus guy where I had to be, oh, I don't know. It just offers me a lot more personal freedom, I think. Is that making any sense at all? I love my job. But I think that's it. If there's a question I have not answered in terms of being on reserve with my airline, feel free, drop a comment in the section below. If you have questions on other bases or anything about reserve life, certainly let me know. I'll do my best to answer. I haven't been on reserve for a long time, but I fly with a lot of reserve, so I have lots of resources for questions. There you go. I'm gonna let you guys go, get rid of this big thing of gravy, put my tray away, and then browse the store for a few minutes before going home. It's 115 degrees outside, so I'm not quite sure like what to do because the car is molten hot. Why am I still talking? Let me let you go. Fly safe. Bye. If you're still watching and you have had questions and you wrote some questions in the comment section that I have not answered, rest assured I'm putting a list together of those questions for a future video. So if I didn't answer your questions that you've asked me a long time ago, I am making a list of things questions to answer in a future video. So feel free, if you have other questions, again, drop a question in the box below, and I will see you guys later. Bye.